Hey, it's Grottu Orloff again. It's December 4th, 2020, and this is episode 31. Thought I'd make an appearance. I haven't been on much because it's just been weird times, and I notice a lot of my favorite YouTube channels haven't posted in a month or 2 months. Um, I haven't, the the big time comic book people like Captain Strangeliffe and Soul Rage Dave. Just you don't see many of videos from anybody, and uh, that's kind of kind of depressing. But these are depressing times, and yesterday I've been watching all these hearings where the president's lawyers. I'll get near there, Pete. Pete's my cat. I don't want to mess him. Here, I'll move this bag over here so you enjoy it over there. All right. I've been watching these hearings where the president's lawyers appear, and all these people that were witnesses to weird incidents during voting on November 3rd and after. And yesterday they had a big bombshell in Georgia where they actually had surveillance footage that they didn't know was on. It was the convention center or whatever had their own cameras, and there's clear footage of, they told all the Republican observers and everyone, we're gonna stop counting now. There's been a water break. In fact, you heard about the water break on November 3rd. It was on the news. Apparently, it was just a leaky toilet. It was like nothing that was going to endanger anything, but it was all a pretense. And so they said, "Everyone get out. It's about 10 o'clock. We're going to stop voting for the night." So everyone left except 4 people. And once everyone left, about 11 o'clock, they start wheeling these suitcases full of votes from under a table that had a black tablecloth, and they immediately start scanning them in, and they go until 1 o'clock, and then apparently at that point, the people that had been there observing get the word that they're still counting over there, so they go over there to try to catch them, and they get there right after they all left, and it's all there on tape. But they say every one of they pulled out it looked like 4 suitcases from under this black tablecloth that had been hidden there all day. And they say you can have about 3,000 votes in every one of them. And there were 4 machines that were feeding these into. And so that means that so if you got 4 machines times 3, you imagine you got a lot of votes there just in those 2 hours that could have swung the election. But it's just unbelievable what's been going on. Now we'll see what happens. If this may have to go to the Supreme Court. If Trump gets in, there's going to be great wailing and gnashing of teeth. And if Biden gets in, we'll all be wailing and gnashing teeth because, it's Biden that says, about the Chinese government. They're not bad folks. Well, tell that to the Falun Gong, the religious it's a religious group in China. Well, they've rounded them up since 1999, and they torture them, but usually they give them weird experiments. So they test their blood and they see how healthy they are, and then they put them in dungeons if they got really healthy organs. And if some important person in China needs an organ transplant, or someone coming in from another country with a lot of money comes in and wants an organ transplant, well, they just pull in this live person and start pulling out their organs and selling them to you. So China has given tons of money to Biden's son, and Biden's son then filters it to his whole family, and then gives a certain percentage to his father, so that he doesn't look like he's been getting any money. And anyway, there's footage. You got to probably you probably don't want to go there because it's conservative. But the Parlor channel, uh, channel. That's me being old. The Parlor website, which is like a Twitter, uh, which has become really popular lately, shows you, that this son of Biden left a laptop because he was so cracked out, smoking crack and screwing everything that moves. He took this Apple computer to be repaired and then just forgot to ever pick it up, and it's got footage of him, just unbelievable Pornhub looking footage of him doing everything you can imagine. And apparently, the Chinese government appreciated him so much that this Disney remade Mulan. I never even saw the original cartoon, but they made a live action Mulan. They just tried to release it. I don't think anyone cared, or because the pandemic, it never got a proper theatrical release. I think it's on Disney Plus. But anyway, the star of that, the lady that played Mulan, was given to Hunter Biden as a prize, and so. They even have sex slavery there of their, it's just, and they very well could take over. We'll see. Maybe it's not going to happen. I just, I could not talk about this, I'm just going to show you comic books. But this is very depressing. And I see what my wife's going through, having to deal with this. And it's really a battle between good and evil. And that's what it is. And there's a lot of people that are just kind of dopes, and they don't realize, and they're just going along with it. They just think, well, this mask is great. It shows that I'm such a great person, and I'm so wonderful. I'm a great patriot by wearing this mask. And I keep forgetting. I get out of my car and I start walking about 20 feet towards the store, and I realize, oh, we're in a pandemic, so I have to go back and put the mask on. And it's just very humiliating. I'm not enough of a rebel that I go into stores without a mask. I hear about people that do that. There's some guy on the internet yesterday that was in a checkout line and didn't have a mask on. And people are yelling at him, "You motherfucker, put on your mask." And then some guy comes with a giant bin of water. I mean, a big, like, it would have a lot of water, and he comes up from behind and dumps it on the guy, and then lets the big giant plastic bin hit him on the head. And so there's people that want a virtue signal. These masks are so important, and it's become a war. Some people say, I'll never wear a goddamn mask, and there's some people that say, no, it's the greatest thing in the world to wear this mask. All I know is I put them on, I can't breathe, and my eyes start heating up. And I've been having trouble with my eyes lately. It's driving me crazy. So, I don't like it. I don't even know about this virus. I know a person that got it. I haven't seen her in 10 years. I saw her. She was in the hospital. This is several months ago on Facebook, and she's fine now. And I'm trying to think. There's some people near us that this guy that my wife knows, and I think he and his wife got it. He was very ill, but as far as I know, he's still. He was very ill. Before, so he got it, and if he's still alive, I don't know. These are the only people. It's almost like I don't know. Do you know people that have had this? I'm not denying that it exists. I'm sure a lot of people are getting it. It seems like if this was the way CNN portrays it, there'd be all kinds of people I know that are getting this. But it almost seems like an urban legend. But for the fact that it's all over, and you can't say anything bad about the election or about the VE. It's like we're not in a free country already. All this social media censors, and it's all horrible. And so, people retreat to the world of their childhood and or before all of this, to try to escape, and a good friend of ours and his family has just sold their home and they're moving to another state where a very safe area, um, where they can be away from, out in the country where they're not going to deal with any of the, what's going to happen. Well, if Trump remains president, it's going to be bad in the cities, with flame and weird wimpy people running around hitting people with bats with purple hair. But a bat even wielded by some um, Starbucks customer, it hurts. Um, so we'll see. But he escaped. He got out. He just made it. He's gonna be there in his new home by Christmas, and I'm still sitting here, and I want to move out into the country too, and haven't yet done it, and so I'm trying to get things organized, but I really should be getting things organized and packing, and so we can get this house sold and move into an even bigger house. And I've seen some that are twice as much square footage, and then they've got a guest house, and I could turn the guest house into an arcade, and I could put a lot of my collection in the guest house, and then it could be more livable for my wife. And I've seen houses built before the Civil War where they've got huge, beautiful houses in the South, and then they've got a carriage house. Before they had garages, they had a carriage house where the horses would stay and the carriage would be put. And the carriage house is beautiful. It's just as big as the house I'm in. And that could be converted into being kind of living space or an arcade. But anyway, I just don't know. I got to get out of here. Horrible. Thinking back, thinking back to 1976-77 school year. I was in 6th grade at South Davis Elementary School in Arlington, Texas. And we had to write about a profession, a job, something we wanted to be. Now, I remember when I was a real little and living in Germany, living at Landstuhl, or then we lived in Heidelberg. They had these big, tall trees right there by the base housing that we lived in. And I'd see the guys cutting some trees down occasionally. And I thought, that's what I want to be when I get older, is a lumberjack. But that faded, and I wanted to become a cartoonist. And, of course, you've seen some of my cartoons that I was drawing back then. But, I can draw enough to impress a middle schooler, but I'm not a great artist. I like to paint sometimes, but I never made my goal of becoming a comic book artist or comic strip artist, but I wanted to be one. But the trick is, what the teacher wanted us to do is come up with a job we wanted to be someday, and then we needed to interview someone that is in that profession, and then we had to write a report. It's like, well, shit. I don't know any comic book artists or comic strip artists. Well, the teacher said, my son is a comic that draws comics. So I called up this guy, and I'm a 6th grader, 12 years old. This is just a few months before the original Star Wars comes out, to put it into context for you. And I call him up and interview him and take notes and write this report and then turn it into his mom. So, of course, I'm going to get a good grade. And then he sends me a letter with a cool little illustration that he did. And I framed it back then, and I've had it framed ever since then. And this is it. And it says, Bill Stokes. It says, to my friend, Kenneth Weinert. Thanks for the call, and I hope to see you soon. Keep on cartooning. I was just looking at this lately and thinking, well, I wonder whatever happened to this guy. If he was in his 20s or about 30 in the 70s, well, he's probably in his 70s now, I guess. So I thought, maybe I can find him. So I looked for him on Facebook, and that's a very common name. There's a million Bill Stokes out there, and I search on I try not to use Google. But I keep doing it out of habit. But there's DuckDuckGo is what my wife tells me to use. But anyway, so I can't find anything about him. So I guess he never made it and what he was doing. And I don't know if he worked for some small town newspaper. Maybe some of you know something about this guy. Because I thought it would be cool to take a picture of this. Like if I could find him on Facebook, take a picture of it and send, put it on his Facebook and say, thank you, here, 40 something, what is it, 40 years later, something like that. I thought that would be cool. But that's something I was thinking about. So if you got any information on a guy named Bill Stokes, let me know. So lots of depression, horrible stuff going on. And I mean, it's kind of exciting, according to people that seem to be in the know. They say this has all been decided already. We already know how this is going to turn out. Trump is going to remain president. You're just watching a movie. This is already, all these people on the internet, and there's all these people. There's soothsayers and psychics and people that post that seem to know. There's a great guy named David Wilcock. Look up that name, David Wilcock. He has some great videos on YouTube, and he's got all these shows about ancient aliens on Gaia. What a stupid name. There's some channel called Gaia that I think you can get through Amazon. I don't know. But David Wilcock is a really cool guy, and he knows a lot about weird arcane stuff, and he's really on Trump's side. I think a lot of comic book people are conservative. I don't know. Whenever I get real political in my videos, I tend to lose a subscriber or two, and then I'll gain a couple. But like I'm right between 113, then I'll go up to 114, then I'll lose somebody. Then right now I think I'm at 113. It's really hard to break, to get higher than that. Oh, listen to this. Oh shit, you missed it. This is my radio station that well, you can't hear it. Yeah. Music, much more music. Let's see if you can hear it. Anyway, I use these old jingles that I get off the internet, and then I have my little station ID things. Let's see if it pops up. Oh well. So I put on cool records. I make my own radio station. I program the radio station. What I do is I record it on a 6. Let me turn this down so I don't get a copyright strike. I have a DVD-R. I have an old DVD recorder. I had one that lasted 10 years. I had to buy another one, but anyway. So I'll record a song off YouTube, just because that makes it easy. I mean, I could pull the records and CDs out, but it's much easier just to pull it off YouTube. So I put a song on. Then I'll put a couple songs on. Then I'll put a jingle for. I use jingles for WFUN out of Miami from the 60s. So I use a WFUN jingle, and then I'll go to my. I have 2 videos that I put up where I'm I'm in the shower doing DJing. You probably thought I was out of my mind, but what I do is I'll put myself talking, and then I'll have another jingle, and then maybe I'll have some radio commercials, like an ad for Beneath the Planet of the Apes or something, and then I'll go into another jingle, and then I'll go into a few more songs, and then when I play it, so what I'm doing is I'm broadcasting. You can get something from there's a website called Whole House Transmitter. I think wholehousetransmitter.com. The brand is Whole House Transmitter. So you can they have much more up-to-date models than the one I've had for over 10 years. But what I'm doing is I'm broadcasting to every radio in the house on 106.9 FM. And it goes a little bit farther than the house. It goes to the neighbor's house, the guy that put out the flag when Biden was elected. And all of this is like this radio for people that love Donald Trump, and it's like he's never gonna hear it. Whoever turns the dial on a radio station anymore? Now it's all push button. But But I just dreamed that someone would tune in and actually hear this. It goes a little bit, and it goes to the backyard. It goes maybe little. It goes about 100 feet in theory. I can drive about a house and a half down the street and still pick up the signal before it goes to static. But it's FCC compliant. I think their new model, you can rig it to broadcast further, but I don't know how to do that, and that would be illegal. There's my magnifying glass. Oh yeah. Anyway, what else was I going to tell you? Oh, in the early days of this pandemic, everyone was watching Tiger King, and that was fun, I have to admit. But people are looking for escape. And there's different TV shows that will appear on different streaming services like Netflix and whatever. And a lot of people into The Mandalorian on Disney Plus, and now HBO Max is trying to become a big player, and now they're going to dump all the Warner Brothers movies slated for next year onto HBO Max, I'm hearing, starting with Wonder Woman 1984, which I'm looking forward to, even though it obviously has an anti-Trump bias. You can just see it from the commercial. There's a guy that becomes president, looks a little like Trump, that's a billionaire. It's like, okay. And then the filmmaker Patsy Lord, or whatever her name is, Patsy Walker, right? Whatever the director is that made Wonder Woman, said, "Oh yes, we're making this as an anti-Trump statement." So, yeah, I don't really like these statements in movies. I mean, my point is, people get addicted to these shows to get their minds off all the shit in the world. Well, we started watching a couple of weeks ago a show called The Queen's Gambit, and I never thought it would be interesting. It's a show set in the 1960s, and it's about a lady that shows her growing up, and it starts in the 50s she's a little girl, and she learns to play chess and becomes this, like the biggest chess player in the world, champion. And so, but the movie makes chess tournaments exciting, believe it or not, and it has really good period detail, and that's something I've always been very particular about. When I watch a movie set in ancient Rome and there's a guy wearing a wristwatch, then you realize, okay, this. Let's listen. So anyway, I have commercials on my station. This is one of my favorite commercials in the 60s. It's here, and it puts Philadelphia on the map. Philadelphia. Anyway, so it's really great. The Queen's Gambit is great, and the lady, the actress in this is great. And apparently she was in the New Mutants, which I haven't seen yet, and I kind of hear it's good. And the New Mutants just came out on disc, and it was a movie that was held up for like 4 years. And but it looks like maybe it's good. I don't know. I just realized that I own the first 10 New Mutants comics, and I read them back when they came out, but they didn't make a great impression where I still really remember them well. It was one of the first of the X-Men spin-offs, and before they started spinning off all these X-Men titles. There's an ad for Superman. And then I just it was just too much. It was like X-Men became Richie Rich or Sad Sack. There were so many titles, you couldn't buy them all. And that was like when it started getting depressing. But the New Mutants, I should get the movie. And this actress is great. I really like her. But it had great period detail. You're listening to Radio Grottu 106.9 FM. You are listening to Radio Grottu 106.9 FM. Fuck you. WFUN. It's not perfect. see what I go into here. I started learning about this old reggae music from my wife. Um, I never knew about. I mean, reggae. I thought Bob Marley and I Shot the Sheriff and that stuff from the '70s, but I didn't know in the '60s reggae was amazing, and they would have all these songs about James Bond, and they would do it about all spaghetti western songs, and they would do songs. These Jamaicans were crazy. They would do songs about. There's a Batman reggae song. It's before. Yeah, and apparently the height of reggae is like in 1969 with a label called Trojan Records, and there's even documentaries about it and all these collections of the music. But my wife really knows a lot about this, so I've was some I learned about from her. So anyway, that's reggae music. But anyway, so turn it down a little bit. Period detail in movies is important to me. American Graffiti as a kid, it brought me in, and it was like this ancient world. And little did I know that came out in '73, and it took place in 1962. But it seemed like it took place 100 years before. The music and the culture, everything changed so much from '62 to the early '70s. And I love the cars and the music and everything about it. And when you make a movie, that's historical, make it look right. That's why I couldn't get into the MASH TV show, because this is how much I'm into this. The guys that's doctors, okay, so they're doctors and they're military, but okay, so doctors, do they have to have military haircuts? Maybe not, but in the '50s, nobody had 1970s hair. And the TV show Happy Days, I really liked it the first 2 seasons. First season, maybe it was only the first season where they shot it on film, and you'd see exterior scenes of the drive-in restaurant where they hung out, and you'd see the cars, and you'd see people outdoors in the sunlight, and it was shot on film, and they had short hair or hair like they did in the '50s. And then after a few seasons, then they start shooting on a videotape, and then it's like it was the '70s, late '70s, and these guys didn't want to wear '50s hair, because in the '70s, if you didn't have the current hairstyle, you were mercilessly attacked. And these guys were now big stars, and they wanted to have their '70s hair, so they had their feathered '70s hair. And then when they brought in Chachi, the little nephew or whatever of a cousin or whatever of Fonzie, and he had like this stupid feathered '70s hair, that every guy in the '70s when I was in junior high school had it parted in the middle, like Sean Cassidy or whatever the frickin' hell was popular then. God, that makes me realize how much I want to get out of this town, because junior high school, I went back to vote a few elections back in the library of Bailey Junior High was like my sanctuary in junior high school. If you got good enough grades, you get a little honor card, and then after lunch you get to go and hang out in the library and read magazines and read books, and you wouldn't have to hang out. They had a prison yard. You weren't really out. You were outside after lunch, but you had walls all around you and cement. It was literally a prison yard. And it was horrible, And so I really, if I could get that card, go to the library. That was great. So anyway, here I am back in the library, almost 40, however many years later, 35 years later, and it's like, wow, I have great memories of this school. And then I realized, no, I didn't. This was a horror. This school was a horror. The kids were assholes. Some of the teachers were nice, but the administrators were assholes. It was a horrible place, at least back then. Let's see. That's Esther Phillips. Esther Phillips, or look up Little Esther. Oh boy, she's great. Um, it was a horrible place, but it's like years pass and you forget all the horrible and you remember the good. It's weird how that happens, but so Bailey Junior High. Why was I talking about that? Oh, okay. I was talking about period detail in movies. It's super important, very important. And so I see a movie, it looks right. I love it. And okay, so this movie, this TV series, it's like I think there's 7 or 8 episodes, so you're gonna be in it for 7 8 hours. You could binge it in a day. The Queen's Gambit is the show on Netflix, and so the period details just great. It really kind of looks like that time period. There anyway. She's growing up and she gets adopted and she's living in this bigger town. I don't know. She goes. I think it all takes place in Kentucky, or it starts in Kentucky. She's going towards uh, a little small convenience store, kind of small little store. Just walking towards the door, and I turned to my wife and said, "There's going to be a comic book rack." Because if you are paying attention to period detail, and you go into one of those stores, you would have to pass a comic book rack. They were always right near the door, or they were prominent in those stores. And they go in, and damned if there wasn't a comic book spinner rack. The Hey Kids comics. I mean, it was a real spinner rack. Now we were in this at this point we're in 1963, and I see there's a Spooky, I think, or something, or Richie Rich and a Casper. I don't know. I see a couple Harvey titles, and those the logos of those comics didn't really change much over the years. So those could be correct to 1963, but I had to stop the video and annoy my wife a little bit and go up and look next to the high definition TV and stand next to it and see, okay, what are the comics on this rack? And somewhere it was like the Spectacular Spider-Man from the 80s. I think it was an 80s issue, and there were some 70s and 80s stuff there, and I think there was some 90s comics in there. So what they did is someone was lazy in the production design, and they just thought, well, just get a bunch of old comics, put them in the rack. You don't really, if you're just watching it and you're not a comic book nerd, you just accept it. And it's like, oh yeah, I remember there used to be comic book racks, but you're not supposed to freeze frame it. And so I did that and realized, okay, these comics are, it didn't hurt the TV show. I loved the show. Oh, and then she goes over to the magazine rack. And you're supposed to focus on that she's looking at a magazine about chess. But, above there's some Newsweeks or Times that have John F. Kennedy on the cover because that was during his presidency. And then there's a copy of Mad there that's not a real issue of Mad. It has the Mad logo, but it's not. I mean, I know every issue of Mad, the covers, and this was never a real Mad, at least not in this country. It might have been in some other country that had different, sometimes the foreign issues of Mad had different covers. Could have been that. Oh, I put her, this girl's great. On the internet, look up Allison Young. She's just some young girl, probably not even 20 years old. But during the pandemic and before, she has an album out, I think. But she's just been recording at home these old songs, and she has a really great voice, and just it's cool to see these really young people that are teenagers appreciating old music and the culture of the past and antiques. And at one point she talks about how dreamy Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, is, but I'll forgive her for that because, Prime Minister of Canada is a fucking idiot. And apparently his mom had an affair with Fidel Castro, and my wife says that there's a lot of rumor that Justin Trudeau is actually the son of Fidel Castro. And if you look at a young Fidel Castro and Justin Trudeau, they look a lot alike. And my wife is a native Spanish speaker, And from what I see Fidel Castro, and I don't know what he's saying, and I just think, okay, he's this crazy, mad dictator. But apparently, if you know Spanish, he's very intelligent. I'm not saying he's not a bad guy. He's a horrible guy, right? But I'm saying this is how you draw people in. He's very intelligent. He's very charismatic. He's funny. Fidel Cat. That's how they drag in. Now, I don't know how Joseph Biden has drug people in, because that guy's just a moron, just a complete moron. He's talking about how he's gonna, when he gets to be president, we're gonna have 100 days of masks, mandatory masks. Just as soon as you go out the door, you better have that mask on, your little face diaper, to show. Oh, there's a great video. Look it up. I give a lot of homework assignments because I used to be a teacher. I'm retired. Her name is her name is What's Her Face. Yeah, type in YouTube What's Her Face and look at her video on masks. It's brilliant. I heard Alex Jones playing it, although I'm not supposed to mention his name because he's forbidden. You're not supposed to ever mention his name on Facebook. You can mention his name only if you're insulting him. What kind of fucking 1984 Orwellian world are we living in? And this guy is like, yeah, he comes across as a little crazy because our founding fathers were crazy. They were out there yelling, the British are coming. They were fucking angry. Thomas Paine and everyone, and it's like, so, you see this, oh, this guy's crazy, he's yelling. At least, someday we'll realize who our real heroes are. And I don't know, my wife says she doesn't quite trust him, but maybe he's really on the other side. I don't know. I've enjoyed him for years. I like he makes her nervous because of his yelling and but I like him. Okay, so I've ranted about so the Queen's Gambit. So I thought I'm going to talk about this on my famous radio show, my TV show here that you're watching. I'm going to talk about that spinner rack and how those comics weren't right. And then, so I get on the internet because I want to get a picture of that spinner rack, so maybe I could put it in my little thumbnail for this video. And people have been talking about it since it aired. All the apparently oh, I love this song, Sergio Mendes, "Pretty World." Anyway, so this is people of apparently ETA Nick already has a video about the how it's anachronistic. Yeah, it's anachronistic. They didn't get real comics. They would have spent hundreds or thousands of dollars to actually fill that rack with 1963 comics. If you think about what was coming out in 1963 from Marvel, what I would have done is, because you see it so briefly, I would have gotten some color copies, color Xeroxes of the front covers of early 60s comics, just to please, it wouldn't take that long. But anyway, it's not really meant to be stopped and lingered on. And I mention it only because this is a comic book channel, and maybe you'll watch that show. You should watch the show. As far as objectionable material, as far as I don't like propaganda put into my shows, I was talking about that earlier. There's one brief moment where she's being funded by this religious group, and they ask her to make some religious statement. She says she won't do it. They always have to throw the anti-religion in because it's good to. They always like to insult Christians in shows. It's always something against Christians, and there's certain groups that they like to needle. Hollywood, and but Hollywood, it's going down. I mean, will this? Who knows what's going to happen to them? You probably came here to see a haul, and here at 39 minutes and a half into my video, I'll show you a haul. Let's see. They had a 2-for-1 sale at. No, I'm sorry. They had a buy 2 get 1 free sale at Duncanville Books in Duncanville, Texas. Duncanville Bookstore, comics, toys, and games. So anyway, I so I got this. Damn, The Amazing Spider-Man 32. Now, I've been wanting this comic since I was in third grade, fourth grade. So that's 40, 40 something years. I've been wanting this comic. When I went to my friend's house, and I remember he had a few comics from his older brother, and I remember that image of Aunt May in the hospital bed, and Spider-Man going crazy, and I thought, well, and finally I got it, all right, and I was looking at some Journey into Mystery, early Thor comics, and I couldn't remember which ones I owned, so I had to get my phone out and watch my video I shot last summer where I show all my Thor comics. And so I'm watching as I pull out each Thor comic, and I realize, oh, I don't have these two issues. I don't have 106. So, 106. Okay, where the light's not shining on it. So I got 106. And then this one would have been free, because you get, among the collector comics, you get two, you get one free, right? So that was something I did because I wanted to, and probably shouldn't have. Got me in a lot of trouble with my wife, spending money right now. We don't have a lot of money, and that's really foolish that I even went there, and I got in all kinds of trouble, and because I had intended to, there's plans that I had, but if we can sell this house and get another house cheaper that's bigger, then we'll have this extra money. But we've got a lot of debts paid off, and now we're starting to, are we going to get any, if we could get another little stimulus, that would really help, but it ain't gonna happen. Too much fighting. Well, I got this for $5. Hulk 176. Just a few issues away from from Wolverine showing up. I know it says $10, but see this sticker, the red sticker at Duncanville Books means it's half price. So that means that's $5. And then I get this for $7. It's Hulk number 183. It's the one after the big issue. 182 being the one where Wolverine, it's the one people want. 181 I have where Wolverine actually first appears, but some people say, well, it's a cameo, and anyway, the big 181's real valuable, but 182 is the one everyone screams about. And 181 is 182. I don't know what I just said. 182 is the valuable one. 181 was my mom bought it for me when I was sick, when I was in fourth grade. She went out and bought some random comics. Here, you're sick. This will give you something to do, and she picked well. I bought this real cheap. I think I already have this, but I don't think in this good a condition, and it's Christmas time, and I thought I'd make a poster from it. Or at some point I'll make a poster, because this should be up every year. It's one of the greatest images I've ever seen, and this issue looks pristine. I think at some point there was a warehouse find that they had they printed so many of those Monster Warren magazines in the 60s that that they had. I remember, it seems like about 20 years ago, I had to go to conventions, and there'd be stacks of every issue in perfect condition. Okay, this I wasn't able to find the week before at my closer comic store, and because it was sold out, and it's got such a great cover, and then the artwork inside is really shitty, and it looks like a real bad Saturday morning cartoon. there's hardly any words in it. I remember how Stanley used to write. I mean, that's just boring composition. But in the back, there's a story that's well drawn. See, this is a different artist, and I like his art or her art. I guess it's a him. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, this looks better, and there's actual words that you can read. So I don't know who the artists are. I guess I should know. Who's so they don't have splash pages like in the old days. I mean, how's that for a splash page? Where's the damn splash page? Oh, is that the splash page? Shit, I don't know how to. I don't even understand these new comics. Nothing makes sense. So how do you fucking know the artist names if they aren't on? There should be a splash. I'm the Silver Age and the Bronze Age is what I know. And this anyway. I know the story in the back is different and it has a different artist and a better artist. I'm sure someone will tell me in the comments below what his name is. I got this for just a few dollars. And it's an issue of Supernatural Thrillers that I didn't have, and I think it's must be something important because they reprinted it with all those dollar comics that Marvel has of reprints of key issues. I forget what they're called, but I know they did one of that. But it's an adaptation of a Robert E. Howard story, and then I love these Superman family. It's actually an issue of Jimmy Olsen. But it's Superman family, and it has old stories from the 50s and 60s, and they're fun. Sounds like I'm playing the theme to The Creature from the Black Lagoon on my radio station. There's another one. I may be buying these a second time for all I know. This is one I don't think I own. I hope I don't. It's just the cover is real cool. It's like a issue of Ghosts or something. And I got this one to my wife's name is Cleopatra, and it's Cleopatra, Queen of America. Oh, here's a the name of the artist is Lord Melody, and this is it's not reggae. What do you call it? Like the Banana Boat song, the Day-O song. What is that kind of music called? Calypso music. This is a song from the 50s about the creature from the Black Lagoon. The creature from the Black Lagoon is your mama. Because even back then they did the your mama jokes. The people always made fun of each other's moms, going back generations. Anyway, you can look that up. Just got an issue of Adventure Comics. Don't think I own it. Watch me find out that I do. Casper and Nightmare. And I just love that cover. And sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between John Severin and his sister Marie Severin. Crypt of Shadows, number 14. Oh, this is from the $2 bin, and it's just, they're back. It's probably from about 1972, and I'm sure when I open it up, it'll be a reprint from the 60s of the Metal Men. I love the heads. They would do that on Justice League in the early 70s, late 60s, have the heads on the side, and I love it here on Metal Men. They did it Justice League style. I just love that. Every one of those could be a t-shirt design. Also from the $2 bin from 1968, Dennis the Menace Spring Special. Oh, and this was also in the $2 bin, and I bought this off the stand when I was a kid, but I wasn't sure if this is better than my 4th grade copy. And this is Atlas Seaboard, the company that was formed to rip off Marvel, and it only lasted about 3 months. But that's all for that haul. That's probably going to be the last haul in a long time. So when I show you comics in upcoming videos, they're going to be stuff I already own, because I can't, unless we won the lottery or something, and even if we get a stimulus, that's all going to go to, that's already spent. So, and I shouldn't have bought this shit, because I really angered my wife and things. So, just anything to cheer me up, because things are so depressing, and I got paid and I spent a little too much there, and there's a song about West Virginia. That may be where I wind up going. Virginia, West Virginia. I just gotta find lower property tax is insane. And I'm paying for shit I don't care about. I don't care about the Dallas Cowboys Stadium. I never am gonna go there. I don't like football, really, at all. And if there's some concert there, do I want to see a concert in a huge state? The only band I know that's played there is U2, and I fucking hate U2. I don't hate you. I hate the band U2. Anyway, never liked them. Yeah, I don't like them. I need to turn that down. So I'm going to be moving some furniture around. I may make other appearances later in the day to show you how I'm changing, because today is the day I'm going to make huge changes to the upstairs, and I'm just about to do it. And so, but I might want to get something to eat here, and that may be the first step. Okay, let's see. So, I really have had fun doing these YouTube videos, and I'm gonna keep doing them. And I really enjoy. I should say, I've really been enjoying a lot of videos I watch. Comic Crypt of Castle Hills has put up a few videos lately. Just started watching. If you're watching your latest video, and I gotta watch that, where it's like an hour and a half of haul, and I'm gonna watch that. And I watched. There's a great. Make sure you subscribe to the Comic Crypt of Castle Hills out of San Antonio. But there's another great. He only has about 200 subscribers, and he's much better than this channel that you're watching. His name is called the Classic Comic Collector, and he does this thing where he interviews people and talks about how they got into the comic book collecting habit. And so he's great, and he just did 2 videos showing his collection of a Golden Age comic called Boy Comics. And then at one point he just briefly shows how he was so into it that he kept going. It's like he started making his own issues of Boy Comics. Like he showed 2 issues that kind of looked real there, where he continued it on. And I just put a message underneath his video. It's like, I want to see those. Make a video where you show your homemade comics. I would love for people to show their homemade comics, and that would be a fun thing. But my beloved dog Daisy, this is her ashes, and I've got some of her favorite toys here. And this is my beloved cat. I need to dust their little coffins there. And this is Princess's ashes. Facebook has been kind enough to show me memories of, when my wife was out of town in Houston helping her family after the big flood, Hurricane Harvey or whatever. I was left alone here because I had to work, and my dog Daisy was dying and was in a lot of pain. And at one point, she lost the use of her back legs, and then she was able to walk again. And then I would film like on live Facebook. I'd film when I take her out for a walk, and it was so hard for her to walk. And the video today, it made me think maybe tomorrow is the anniversary of her death, because it just looks like she's almost there. So tomorrow I'm sure Facebook will send me memories of, well, I don't think I filmed that. I didn't film that when she was just in convulsions and so much pain. I had to take her to the vet, and my wife's mom lent me some money so that she could be put out of her pain. And the damn doctor was like weird. He's a nice guy, but when he came in, he was just kind of strange. It didn't take long. She didn't suffer. When she was, they gave her an injection, and I was holding her. But so he came in, and he's like a hunchback guy. But he came in and he said something like, what did he say? So the time has come, or something, ghoulish, like out of a Universal horror movie. I don't remember what he said. It wasn't maybe that, but it was something close to that effect. And it's like, what? But anyway, so Daisy was my beloved beagle that I had for many years. I adopted her in 2006, and she passed away 3 years ago. When I adopted her, she was supposed to be 6 years old, so she was a very older dog, but she was with me through some very hard times, and was such a great dog. And so I'm just remembering it's just a depressing time, and just realizing that our country's in great peril, and a lot of people just don't care. And I watched some comic book channel, and someone was saying, well, we should just give Biden a chance. You just use a chance. Like, this is some elementary school gay PE class where it's like, well, you should give this guy a chance. I mean, well, not this guy has gotten millions, if not billions, of dollars from enemies of the United States, and it's like all on record, and it's, geez, people are so stupid. We'll see what happens. So I guess I'll be appearing later in the day, and you'll be able to watch the transformation of the upstairs. This is my mom. Let's see if you can see her. That was my mom when she was young, probably high school. That's Lux Interior of the Cramps when he was in high school. Eric Perkeiser is his real name. I think every comic book collector should have a poster of Comic Book Confidential. It was such a great one sheet. Well, I guess I'll see you soon. Let's make sure we start building back better.